to be able to present Ampath Pro Plus. My background is I'm a general practitioner and I have a background in tech. 1 year after ComServe, I started an app called WardWorks and found a passion and interest in user experience, which is basically the psychology of why an app is user-friendly. And so I upskilled myself into user experience and found who shared my vision to involve more doctors in the process of creating technology that doctors actually use. And over the last 18 months, I was the clinical user experience lead on Ampath Pro Plus. And I'm proud to say that it truly was a process that we've improved the existing Ampath Pro with doctors. We included over 150 doctors in our process. From user interviews, me one-on-one ward rounds with doctors. We had a panel of doctors on WhatsApp that we would double check, triple check, get a lot of feedback, and then we did a lot of surveys. And so at every stage of the process, my job was to involve doctors, advocate for doctors, and just continually test designs and iterations of the app with doctors to make sure that it was user-friendly. Right, so for this presentation, it's optimized if you're viewing it from your desktop, just because unfortunately there's limited capability for me to zoom in and out on the designs. So the phones can sometimes be small. If you do struggle to see the slides, at the end of the presentation in the chat, there will be a download link where you can download a PDF version of these slides, which is the quick guide that we have published on Ampath Pro Plus. I'm going to focus on the main functionality to just explain what is out there, what is in Ampath Pro Plus, and the best way to get to know Ampath Pro Plus is to just give it a go. Go into the App Store, go into Google Play, download Ampath Pro Plus. It's the one with the plus icon. It's not the same as Ampath Pro. And we've done this specifically so that you can use Ampath Pro while getting to know Ampath Pro Plus. But we've done it in such a way that it's as user-friendly as possible, so you shouldn't need too much training. So take this presentation as an introduction to each feature and then spend some time getting to know the feature, and it should unfold as you go. Please, if you have any questions for me, please do put them in the chat. Yolandi will be gathering them and we will answer them at the end. And then please do also stick to the end because we will be giving away 3 Vida coffee vouchers to the value of 200 Rand at random to 3 people on this call. So please stick around for that. Right, so let's get started. As I mentioned, it's a separate app. So you'll be able to use Ampath Pro while using Ampath Pro Plus. And that's just to give you time to get comfortable. And once you get comfortable, please get rid of Pro. It's done. It's in the past. You'll be able to log in with your existing Ampath Pro login credentials. So your username is your Ampath mnemonic, your Ampath code that's at the top of your little Ampath paper request forms. If you don't know your Ampath mnemonic, please do reach out to your marketer. Most doctors have forgotten their Ampath login their password, because everybody's just using biometric login. So if you've forgotten your password, please do just go through the forgot password link, which is underneath the password text field. And it takes less than a minute, I promise, to get the email, reset your password, and just let you into Ampath Pro Plus. I'm going to introduce you to the home screen of Ampath Pro Plus. So at the top, we've got 2 main buttons. What we've done is we've brought the two very important features that we wanted to be accessible, not hidden in a menu. A lot of the cool features of Ampath Pro were actually hidden deep inside menus that doctors didn't even know they were there. So we've brought to the fore, we've brought create order, and we've brought import patient. So to create an order, you can make an electronic order on Ampath Pro Plus, meaning you don't need any papers, you don't need to email or have a patient collect a paper form anymore. This can all be done through the app. I'll cover that at a later stage in the slides. And then import patient. So you can import any patient that's ever been to Ampath by using their ID number, or you can use their surname and their date of birth. If we go a little bit lower in your home screen, you can search for a patient. So you can search for a patient using their name or surname, and you can see what we've done in Ampath Pro Plus is this is all your patients that you have ever sent to Ampath. There is no time filter applied. There's no specific filter applied. It's all patients ever. So if you scroll down on your list of patients, it's going further and further into the past. So your most recent patients will be at the top, much like an email inbox. And we've done this in such a way that it's not data heavy. So every time you open your app, it's not pulling in every single patient you've ever sent to Ampath. It's doing it in such a way that you don't know it's happening, but you'll get a smooth transition. As you scroll down, we are pulling in more of your the records of patients you've sent to Ampath. Right, so I'm going to, before I go to the next slide, so next to the search bar, you'll see 3 little lines in an upside down triangle. That is your filter button. So you'll be able to reorder your list from A to Z or Z to A. So if you don't remember exactly what the patient's name was, but you remember it started with a B or the surname started with a B, then you can reorder your list. Or if you would like to see patients only for a specific time period, so this is now more like Ampath Pro. If you'd like to see patients only from yesterday, you can choose yesterday, or if you'd like to see patients from 2 weeks ago because you can't really remember who the patient was, but you remember when it was, then you can apply a time filter. So I'm just going to go through a little bit more on the home screen. So if you look at the top patient, we've got Tato Nkosi, a 23-year-old male. He's got 2 unread reports. That's a little 2 in a circle on the far right. And it was bloods that were sent into Ampath today. The hemoglobin and INR have a green tick next to them. So that means they are final. That's the final report. If it was a little blue eye, that would mean it was in an interim state. So if the full blood count or the hemoglobin was out, but not the comment, then it would be in an interim state. If it has a little clock next to it, it means it's pending. So that means that Ampath has received the specimen, but they have not yet resulted anything or actioned it. And if it was an open circle, that would be in the ordered state. So that is if you've created an order on Ampath Pro Plus, but the bloods have not yet been collected. And then the last status that it could be is cancelled. So if either you or Ampath cancels the request, it will show as a little gray X. So what's really important is that we've brought in 4 useful filters. So you can either see all of your patients ever, or you can see only the unreads. So if you're logging in the morning, you just want to see what's new to you, you can click the unread filter, which will show you then only the top 3 results and not anything that you've seen before. Or you can tap the flagged filter, which we'll get to in a little bit, but it's basically a list for yourself. It's a list that you're creating. You can flag patients for follow-up, make yourself a list of patients, maybe for a ward round, a pre-op list. You can choose what you use the functionality for. But if you flagged a patient or a patient's result, it'll be visible in the flagged filter. And then the last filter that's sort of sneaking off the screen there is the in-hospital filter. So Ampath Pro Plus allows you to follow in-hospital patients, even though you are not the admitting doctor or the requesting doctor. And so if you have a patient that you're following, which I'll get to on a later slide, but if you're following a patient or if you've followed all your in-hospital patients, then all of your in-hospital patients will be within that filter. Right, so if we now tapped onto Tato Nkosi and we've opened now his patient profile, you've got 2 ways you can see your blood results or your pathology results. You can look at results, which is all your results as a little sort of a line item or a card, or you can tap the cumulative table, which will take you to the cumulative table that we're all familiar with. It's important to note that cumulative table is just for laboratory results or chemistry results, not for micro and histo specimens. On that note of micro, histo, and cyto, during our interviews, it came up time and time again that a lot of time is spent looking for histology specimens or looking for microbiology specimens. And that's because we don't do them frequently. You know, you send a patient for bloods on a daily basis, but you know, you only get one shot to take out that mole. So what we've done is we've created micro and histo or cyto filters. So if you'd like to just quickly look, if a patient mentions that they had a malignancy and you'd like to look at that histology, you tap the histo filter and it'll just bring up any histologies that Ampath has. So that's a really user-friendly feature that can just save you time in a consult. Then an exciting feature that is really gaining a lot of traction in Ampath Pro Plus, and it was sort of one of the lesser known features in Ampath Pro, is the ability to add on tests. So gone are the days of having to phone the lab and say, is there enough blood in the purple tube? I see the HB is low. Please do the full blood count. Now you can do that from within Ampath Pro Plus. So you tap the add on test button. You usually have around 7 days to add on a test. And you can just go through 2 simple steps, add on a test, and then the next time you log on to Ampath Pro Plus, there should be feedback. So as you can see, this full blood count has been accepted by the lab. But if it was rejected, you'll have a reason. So if there was a little gray cross there and it said specimen rejected, it would say not enough blood or hemolyzed or wrong specimen tube filled. And so that is just saving you time from having to sit on the line and add on tests through the telephone lab lines. If you tap on the bottom right-hand button, so that's create order. So what's really cool about that is that you're creating an order for this patient. And what we're trying to do is save you time. You don't have to enter in Tato and Corsi's demographic information because we already know, we have this patient on our database. So if you tap create order, we will pre-fill the patient's details and you can just get going and choose the test that you'd like done on the patient. If you just look at the top right-hand corner, you've got 2 buttons. You've got a little phone icon with some lines next to the phone. That is contact information. If you tap the little phone, we will show you the patient's email address and the patient's cell phone number, and you can either choose then to contact your patient, or you can be given an option. You will be given an option to contact Ampath. So that's just giving you the options to action bloods on the go. You can see the troponin is high. You want to call Ampath to add on something, you want to speak to a pathologist, or you want to contact the patient urgently after hours. We're giving you that information on the go. Then there are 3 little dots next to the little phone icon, and that is your context menu for this patient. Before I head to the next slide, which is the context menu that those 3 dots will open, I just want to tell you a story about Johan Venter that I see my face is sort of covering him. So Johan Venter is a urologist in Pretoria, and he was one of the first interviews that I did for Ampath Pro to find out what you love, what he hates about Ampath Pro. And one of the features that he was adamant is he wanted a button within a patient that would allow him to import that patient's blood results. And what he was saying, and it came up time and time again, was it was frustrating doctors to have to copy and paste that ID number and sort of refresh a patient's history if some items were missing in the historic record. So during development, we literally called this button Johan's button, which he's very proud of. So when you do use the button, just do think of Johan who requested it. But that's exactly what my job was all about. And that's what made it so rewarding, is to see that full cycle of a doctor having frustrations, requesting something. I got to sit with the team, design it, develop it, and test it. And now it's actually in public, being used by the public. And it was because of user feedback. So let's start at that feature. So that's the bottom feature, or the bottom button of the context menu. And that's the ability to import all previous results. And so this is in the setting where you are seeing a patient and you last saw the patient, say, 4 years ago. You've got the patient in your list, so you could have searched for him in Corsi and you would have found him. But now Mr. Nkosi is telling you, I've been admitted, I've had a few moles removed, I've been to a specialist, they've found that I have lupus, and you're like, I need to see these blood results. But if you open your app, you weren't copied in them. So now you don't have to copy his ID number. You don't have to import him again. You can just refresh his results and you will see everything that you have sort of missed out on in the last 4 years. So that is the import all previous results button, Johan's button. Then we've got the ability to flag a patient. So that was the feature that I was speaking to when you're creating a list for yourself. So you're driving home, you see the troponin is high. Okay, let's not use troponin. That's a bad example because you should action that no matter what. Let's say you see the hemoglobin is low and you don't have the time now, you're late for dinner You're going to flag this patient so that tomorrow morning, first thing, you're going to phone the patient to come in, or you're going to phone a specialist for a discussion, you name it. You can flag this patient and create a list for yourself so that you can action it at a later stage. Then we have the follow in hospital patient feature. So the way that works is if Ampath has a patient in a hospital and at least one specimen has been received by the in-hospital lab, then Ampath knows the patient is in hospital. If you were the referring general practitioner and you have a clinical curiosity as to how the patient's doing, you can then follow along, even though you're not the admitting doctor or the requesting doctor, so long as you have the relevant consent from the patient, of course, you can follow along and watch the admission and watch the bloods as they come in. And this is particularly useful if the family members are maybe liaising through you to the specialist or asking you if you know how the patient is doing. And this is also very useful, and this is what it was built for, is that sometimes when you have multiple specialities co-managing a patient, sometimes when making electoral orders within a hospital setting, they don't remember to copy all the specialists that are involved in that patient. So you can just choose to follow a patient, and then you will prospectively get everything during that whole admission until 7 days after the last specimen. Then we don't count the patient as in hospital anymore. Right, so if we had to open now one result for a patient, so this is, for example, a UNE, and all of my interviews, I watched doctors using Ampath Pro and other laboratories apps, and we are creatures of habit. We love a PDF. We love that paper feel. We love to be able to, see what we saw while we were studying NHLS bloods. We're creatures of habit, and so one of the challenges I was put it on my mandate was to be able to optimize and take what's good from a PDF and put it into Pro Plus. And I'm proud to say we have definitely done that. So we've taken what's familiar about a PDF, but we've placed it in a way that you don't need to zoom in and out. And that's what we saw is doctors love the PDF, but then they were sitting, zooming in, zooming out, scrolling up, scrolling down. And I mean, a phone is only so small or only so large, and you really have to have eagle eyes to be able to see those results. So what we've done is we've taken that familiar layout and that format, and we've enlarged it and made it clear as day that your red items are abnormal. So you can quickly, within a glance or one or two scrolls of your thumb, go through the whole UNE and FVC without having to scroll up and down or zoom in and out. And what we've also done is we've made the comments collapsible. The lipogram comment, for example, is no jokes a page. So it's useful information and it really helps us clinically, but it is a page of information. So what we've done is we've made comments collapsible. So if you are scrolling up and down a result, you don't need to scroll through all of the text-based comments. You can just collapse that comment and just look at the data that you want to. And then if you need to look at the comment, you can obviously expand it. But if you are still a creature of habit and you do not like the view we've made, you can switch to PDF. So as you can see at the top of the screen, underneath Tato Nkosi's name, you've got results, and then you've got the PDF tab. Tap the PDF and you will see the PDF that you all know and love, and you can zoom in and out as you like. I must apologize, there is something missing from this page of the presentation, but it's in your apps. At your top right-hand corner, you've got the phone icon and the 3 dots icon. There should also be a share icon, which you'll see in your app. If you tap the share icon of a result, you will share a PDF version of the result that you are viewing. Cumulative table. So my mandate here was to try and optimize the use of screen space for the cumulative table, because once again, doctors, even though the cumulative table was in app, doctors were resorting to the PDF, zooming in, zooming out, because they could see more columns at once. So what we've done is we've made the columns slightly smaller so that you can see in the expanded view, as you can see here, you can see 3 days of results compared to each other. But what we've also done is we can collapse the column that has the test names, and it'll show you then a shortened version of each of the test names. And in doing so, we have now made it 4 columns, which is a win for us because it's double the amount of columns that were previously visible on Ampath Pro in the portrait view. So we've gone from 2 columns, there's no benefit in that comparing one day to another. We want to compare a trend. So it may not be much, but 4 is a whole lot more than 2. So I'm going to celebrate that win. Then we are the only lab that now allows searching on your cumulative table. And as you can see, the quote from Dr. Ravendran Kistan, a neurologist in Johannesburg, it really helps to minimize duplication. So you can now open up your cumulative table and search, has this patient ever had an RPR? Have they ever had a vitamin B12? Instead of having to just repeat it because you assume the patient hasn't had one. And another very useful feature is to be able to just zoom in on something. If you would like to just look at the creatinine over time, you can type in creat into the search bar. Then you don't get distracted by everything else on the table. We'll just show you the creatinine over time without any other results showing. Next to the search text bar, you'll also see the PDF icon. If you miss your PDF, that's where you'll find it. You can open up the PDF and we'll then give you the option to go to landscape or portrait versions of the PDF. If you click the share icon, you will share a PDF version of the PDF cumulative table. And if you tap the 3 lines in an inverted triangle, that is your settings for the cumulative table. So when we ran a poll as to whether or not doctors like their results to run right to left or left to right, chronologically, the results were 50-50 down the middle. So we made both an option. So you can change your order of your cumulative table right to left or left to right in that setting. If you'd like to open a specific result for a specific day, you can just tap the column in question and it'll open up the single result for that page, the single result page for that day. Right, orders, the really exciting stuff. So we're trying to make it easy for you. We're trying to make it, wherever possible, as easy or as quick as paper. So you can only imagine, I'm really proud when you see that Dr. Mia Fisher, a GP in Pretoria, said, it's like a blood form. It only takes seconds. So let me show you why we've tried to make it as quick as possible. So you get 3 options when creating an electronic order for a patient. You can choose from a list of your patients, so patients that you've seen and sent to Ampath before, or if it's a patient that you know has been to Ampath, you can almost import them quickly. So you choose from the Ampath database, or a new exciting way of doing it is to make a quick order. So a quick order is trying to compete with paper. I had to keep the team really accountable to this and say, a doctor, if you're in a consult, it is so quick to scribble and tick a few boxes on that paper form and hand it over to the patient. And that's what we were competing with. So the only required fields on a quick order is the patient's surname and the patient's cell phone number. Ampath and the team at the depot will do the rest. All the rest of the demographic information will be filled in by the team or by the patient themselves. So the patient is going to get an SMS, so we need the cell phone number to send the SMS, and as long as it's got a surname, then we know who the patient is. And so in doing so, we aren't linking it to a patient yet, but the data entry is not your responsibility then. You don't have to fill in anything. You can just quickly put the surname and the cell phone number and move on to selecting tests. So when it comes to selecting tests, I worked closely with the database team, along with a panel of doctors, to try and optimize the search to actually be what we call tests. So what Ampath calls a test, or what a pathologist calls a test, is not always the same as what we call a test in a hurry or an abbreviation or where we trained. And so we've worked with hundreds of tests and made sure that their synonyms and their abbreviations match what doctors actually call it in both English and Afrikaans. So that's just another way we're trying to just make it as quick and easy as possible for you. Then you can also set up custom test lists for things you do commonly. So if you are a urologist and you send all of your patients for a PSA, plus or minus free PSA and a creatinine, then you can set that up as a custom test list. So you don't have to search for each of the items. You can just tick the test, the sort of custom list of urology basic bloods, and then it will add those bloods to the patient. or you can select some of your custom test list. For example, if you have patients that go to theatre and you've got your set pre-op bloods, then you can add those to the patient. And that's just to try and reduce the searching and the clicking for you. Then you'll also see that the app is learning from you. So when you start using Ampath Pro Plus, we will be using the top 10 tests that are sent by all doctors across South Africa, but it'll start learning from what you do commonly as you start using the app. So that when you use the app, you can do quick selections without having to search, because we're assuming what you're going to choose next. Then we have step 2 of creating an order. And I want to firstly show you that it is optional. We've put in brackets, it's optional, but also at the bottom right-hand corner, the whole page is skippable. So do not feel pressure. You don't have to fill in all these details. These are nice to haves, but we want orders to be quick and easy. Name, cell phone number, tick, tick, box, box, and skip this page. But let me show you what features are there so that in case it might help you. So you can search for a copy doctor. Yeah, we just realized nobody knows their colleagues' Ampath mnemonic. So we are giving you access to the Ampath database, so you can search for a doctor if you'd like to copy them. You can also search for an ICD-10 code, and that's just to make use of the patient's funds a bit better. So just to make sure that it comes from their PMB basket of funds or from their chronic basket of funds by adding the relevant ICD-10 codes from a database, and you don't need to then memorize 1,001 ICD-10 codes. Then if you look at the screen on the right, this is the final screen and the final step. Ampath has done it. You don't need to do anything else. The patient has been SMS'd and emailed the instructions to go to a depot. And what's really helpful with this is to do this after hours. If you've got a patient who, you know, you're seeing tomorrow and you're not with your Ampath paper book, and you can't email them, they can't come collect at the rooms, you can send them an electronic order and the rest will be taken care of by Ampath. If you would like a backup, or if the patient maybe phones the rooms and say, I didn't get the SMS, you can click the share PDF button and you can either email it to your receptionist, put it on your record, or email it to the patient directly just as a backup.